Hey everyone, welcome back to Build at Home. I am your host, coming to you from my home in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and I'm talking to the actor Jim Sturgess, coming to us from an apartment building. Jim, how are you? Good to see you.
Very good, man. How are you?
I'm doing what I can. I'm doing what I can. I'm getting by. Jim is the star of the new Apple TV Plus show, Home Before Dark. But before we get into that, we like to say, we think it's important that we say at the top of all of these interviews that over 505 million school lunches have gone missing for children across the country due to school closures because of the coronavirus. If you would like to find out how you can help, how you can donate, how you can help get these kids the meals that they're missing, please go to nokidhungry.org, where you can find out all the resources there for you to get involved. Jim, thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you. It's good to see you're healthy and that you're doing well.
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. It's good to see you too. I was just saying, it's good to see a new face.
Yeah, right. We see no new faces right now.
Yeah, virtual or otherwise. It's always good to see a new face.
How are you staying sane? How are you hanging in there during your isolation, your quarantine?
Yeah, I've been doing okay. I mean, yeah, like I said, well, I'm in Vancouver at the moment because we were sort of right in the middle of shooting the second season of Home Before Dark before we got shut down. So it's quite weird being in an apartment that isn't my own. You know, I don't have my own stuff. And it's frustrating because back home in London, I was right in the middle of recording an album. So I was sort of really busy trying to get that finished before I had to start filming again. So if I was at home right now, this would be the perfect time to finish the record, but I'm not. I don't have any of my equipment, or I don't have any of my instruments or anything, so I can't get it made. So it's that's
you have no instruments with you or anything?
I managed to get an old beaten up acoustic guitar, but I don't have any of my recording equipment. I don't have my piano. I don't have anything that I need to finish it off. So actually, this would have been the perfect time to get it over the finishing line.
Yeah, but I will say that at least you have an acoustic guitar with you, though, because I'll say, like, I am no good at my guitar, but it has definitely kept me busy and kept me occupied during this isolation. A bit of a salve.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm on the 32nd floor of an apartment building, which is not my usual kind of setup at home, you know. So I have these amazing views looking over Vancouver, and that more than anything has been keeping me sane, I think.
Yeah. So tell me about Home Before Dark, how you got involved. This is kind of like a classic, almost Amblin style family TV show. A precocious child who's a bit too precocious for her own good gets in, I think, not in over her head, but in over all the adults' heads.
Very much.
And has to kind of solve the case. How did you get involved?
I got involved. I got a phone call asking if I would fly to Los Angeles to meet with Brooklynn Prince, who's the young actress who plays the main character, Hilde Lysiak. It was quite. I had very recently just seen her in the Florida Project. I've watched her in that. I thought she was incredible, and I was even intrigued by her anyway. And then, kind of about a month later, this phone call came through about meeting up with her and potentially playing her dad in this new Apple TV show. So I was, already just really kind of excited just to meet her and get to work with her, and terrified because I just didn't know if she was going to be like the real kid in that show, to which she's, she's pretty full on in that, in the film, The Florida Project. So I was hoping that she was a good actress and that she wasn't as insane as she appears in that movie.
And I'm taking it she's a good actress and not as insane as she appears.
Luckily for me, well, a bit of both actually. She's pretty, yeah. But no, it was amazing. And they got us in a room together just to sort of see if we would have some sort of chemistry, and, Brooklyn would feel comfortable around me and vice versa, whether I would feel good around her. And we sort of did a lot of improvisations and played some games. And John Chu, who was the director for the first couple of episodes, he sort of kickstarted off the whole show, had us playing all kinds of games and making up sort of handshakes and just getting us kind of relaxed with each other and seeing if that kind of dynamic would work. And so I was really kind of excited about the project just from that alone, and then I found out much later on that actually the scripts that I'd been reading are all based on a real story, and that Hilde, this young girl who uncovers this murder, is a real person, and the family that we represent is all real. So that sort of heightened my interest even more.
Tell me about your character. He's sort of a down on his luck journalist who seems like he's realizing that all of the things that he trained his daughter or taught his daughter only work best for him when he's in control, and he's not in control anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, he's actually just been fired from journalism and has sort of turned his back. He's an investigative journalist, and it's through the fact that he gets fired that he had, through financial reasons, they moved back to the family home where he grew up as a kid. And it's kind of, once they get back to the old neighborhood where he grew up, the family more than anything discover that he has a lot of secrets and that there's a part that he hasn't really told them about, which is that his best friend was abducted, when they were about 10 years old, and he was there when it happened. And so how he sort of lived with that trauma and how that sort of affected his life. And it's really his relationship with his daughter, who's an aspiring investigative journalist. She loves her dad. She looks up to her dad. She kind of wants to be like him. So she is the one really who sort of dives into the past to sort of help him go through all this trauma and try and find out what really happened to this young boy that disappeared all those years ago. So yeah, it's kind of, he gets a new lease of life and a new sort of surge of wanting to sort of become a journalist again through the eyes of his daughter, for sure.
I'm curious. It's kind of it's a dark character, a character with a troubled history, and as you said, there's some trauma. But it's also in a lot of ways a family show. It's a bit of a a darker family show. I think something that adults can enjoy as well. Do you think about that when you're playing the character? Like, oh, how dark should I take this? This is meant for not a small audience who would really like this character to be as dark as possible. Like, how do I make what he's going through believable, but at the same time kind of open for a broad audience?
Yeah, I think for me as an actor, it's just really about sort of playing the truth of the scene. I think the writers have done an amazing job and the showrunners have done an amazing job of just walking the line between sort of how dark it dares to go, then sprinkle it with a lot of fun and a lot of playfulness with the kids and seeing it through the eyes of the kids. And it is, like you said, very much like a throwback to a lot of those, movies like The Goonies and sort of England films where, there's a lot of riding around on bikes, solving crimes, and there's a real joy to it and a real excitement to it. But it really does dare to go to some pretty emotional and interesting places. Yeah, and from an acting point of view, it was quite hard, being around all these kids and having to go to quite dark places and having to be prepared, emotionally as an actor. And then at the same time have to deal with the energy and the sort of joyfulness that the kids need, throughout the day just to sort of keep them entertained, And I was kind of nervous about that. I was nervous how that was going to play out when I really needed to concentrate. How was I also at the same time going to be singing songs with Brooklynn Prince and making up crazy handshakes? And, how do you sort of balance that?
Well, I think about the moment in the first episode where you yell at her, why can't you just be a little girl? And he actually yells at her. It's not like he's just a little frustrated and says that. He really loses his cool, which is seems like it's a rarity for this father to do, but it's a scary moment. How do you manage that moment both with Brooklynn and tonally with your director and the writers?
Yeah, it's very much. I mean, Brooklyn's super, super smart, and she's so sort of involved in the show and the characters and the story that she's very aware that it's make believe and you're pretending. But I mean, that's one of the great things about working with kids is that you really have to create an environment for them to kind of react to. That's been one of the joys of making the show. But I know, me and Brooklynn had a really strong, great relationship before we shot scenes like that. And so we have a lot of trust, and you have to have a lot of trust with any kind of actor that you're working with, but certainly with a sort of 9-year-old young kid, that they need to know that you can go to those places and kind of snap at them like that. And then when the take is over, you're making up silly handshakes again and singing crazy songs about whatever.
Right.
So it was probably harder for me because kids are much easier at just sort of compartmentalizing things and just sort of bouncing back and forth from, oh, that's the scene, and now we've finished the scene, and now I'm having fun. But as you get older, you linger in those sort of moments a lot more,
Right, you're walking away from this scene being like, I can't believe I just yelled at a kid.
Yeah, exactly. You're sort of in it, and you're in the whole thing, and I learn a lot from the kids. Just like, oh, the scene's over. Like, let's go and do something else.
Okay,
yeah, it's done. The scene's over. Why are you even thinking about it anymore? We're on to something completely new.
You know, you said that before we started, you're recording some new stuff, but you can't do it there. How close are you, and what are you working on right now, or we're working on?
Yeah, so I realized I had a bit of time. I mean, I've always been writing music and playing music, and I have a little studio at home, and most of my friends kind of work in the music world. And yeah, a group of us have been trying to sort of get a record made for a while, but just never sort of found the right time. And it was sort of last year I ended up writing a load of songs, and I sort of promised myself, as time sort of is ticking by, you know, it's just really finding the right time to sort of get everything finished. So I had a whole new load of songs, and the musicians and producers that I were hopefully going to work with were free at the same time. They do a lot of kind of music scores and stuff. So there just seemed to be an opportunity where, you know, I just sort of stepped back from acting for a bit of time to see if I could get this record done because I knew I was coming back to Vancouver to shoot the second season of this. So I kind of had a window where I really tried to get it finished, and we got close. Like, we did pretty well, but we didn't get it all done before I had to leave. So yeah, now would be the perfect time, as we're all locked down, to kind of get it finished. But
You got none of your gear.
Alas, I've got nothing other than
are you finding that you can write at all, that you are creative at all during this sort of isolation? I know that I've talked to some people who feel like, yeah, it's a great time to be productive, and other people who are like, I can't focus. I have no idea how to like buckle down and be creative right now.
Yeah, I sort of feel a bit more reflective right now. I feel like I need to sort of absorb what's happening before I can then be creative about it, which maybe hopefully will come later. But right now I just feel like sitting still and just sort of seeing what plays out, you know, and you know, sort of, I guess, yeah, it does feel like you just need to sort of be observant and responsible, and just kind of absorb the moment, which is a huge moment in time, I think, you know.
Yeah, it feels like I don't even know if it feels like it. We're definitely living in an extremely historical moment right now.
Yeah, and just processing.
I mean, we have been for like a few years.
Yeah, right.
Jim, I love the show Home Before Dark. When can people start watching it on Apple TV Plus? When does it arrive?
Yeah, so it's out now.
It's out now. Okay.
Yeah, it came out on the 3rd of April. So they put all 10 episodes out at the same time. I think originally the plan was to do it sort of once a week, but I think they knew that everybody's at home and everybody's, you know, needing to be sort of entertained, and if they want to feel like they want to binge the whole thing in one go, then they absolutely can, you know. So yeah,
absolutely
all
should.
10 episodes, and they absolutely should, right? Yeah, all 10 episodes are out right now. So, and it's actually a really joyful thing to watch at a time like this, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim Sturgess, thanks so much for talking to me, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And stay healthy, stay safe.
You too, man. I appreciate it.
Take care.
All right, mate. Thank you.